My name is Max, and I want to start today with what should be a ridiculous question. Why does gold have any value at all? It is a soft yellow metal. You cannot eat it. You cannot build a house with it. It does not keep you warm. It does not run an engine. For most of human history, it had almost no practical use whatsoever. And yet, civilization after civilization, spanning 5,000 years of human history, has treated this particular shiny rock as the most valuable thing on Earth. Imagine you are an advisor to an Egyptian pharaoh around 3,000 years before the Common Era. You need something that everyone will accept in exchange for goods. It needs to be durable, divisible, portable, scarce, and verifiable. Grain rots, wood burns, iron rusts. Copper is too common, and then someone puts a piece of gold in your hand. It does not rust, it does not corrode. You can melt it into any shape. It is found in nature, but never abundantly. Every ancient civilization that encountered gold came to roughly the same conclusion independently. Cultures that never had contact with each other looked at this metal and said, "This is what we will build our wealth around." Around 600 years before the Common Era, the Lydians took gold and silver and stamped it into standardized coins with a guaranteed weight. This was the birth of coined money. The Lydians also discovered something that every government since has been tempted by. If you control the mint, you control the money supply. And if you are short on revenue, you can reduce the gold in each coin and pocket the difference. In the early days of the Roman Republic, a silver denarius was approximately 90% pure silver. By the time the empire was crumbling, it was about 5% silver. The Romans had diluted their currency over centuries to fund wars and government spending. The result? Prices rose, confidence fell, trade became difficult. Historians point to currency debasement as one of the significant factors in the decline of Rome. Subscribe right now, because I am going somewhere with this history that connects directly to your bank account and your investment decisions. After 2 world wars, the major powers met at Bretton Woods in 1944 and designed a new international monetary system. Every currency would be pegged to the US dollar, and the dollar would be backed by gold at $35 per ounce. The United States was spending heavily through the 1960s. The Vietnam War, the Great Society programs. Foreign governments noticed that dollars in circulation were growing faster than gold in Fort Knox, and started redeeming dollars for physical gold. On August 15, 1971, on a Sunday evening, Nixon went on national television and announced that the United States was suspending the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Just like that, the last link between American money and a physical commodity was severed. Nixon called it a temporary measure. It was not temporary. The gold standard has never been restored. On the day Nixon made that announcement, gold was trading at $35 per ounce. Within 10 years, gold had risen to $850 per ounce. That is an increase of 2,300% in a single decade. The people who understood what Nixon had just done and bought gold in the days after that announcement became extraordinarily wealthy. The people who held dollars watched their purchasing power erode significantly. Central banks around the world have been buying gold at the highest rate in decades. In 2022 and 2023, central banks collectively purchased more gold than in any year since records have been kept. China, Russia, Poland, Hungary, India, Turkey, country after country with their central banks adding physical gold to their reserves. Why would they do this? Central banks do not buy gold because they think it looks nice. They buy it as a hedge, as insurance against something they are worried about. The thing they are worried about in most cases is the dollar. The weaponization of the dollar through sanctions, as happened with Russia in 2022, demonstrated to every country on Earth that holding dollar reserves could be politically risky. Gold cannot be sanctioned. It cannot be frozen. It cannot be printed. The first practical takeaway is simply understanding. When you understand that money is a trust-based system with historical precedent, for losing value, you make different decisions. You are less likely to hold large amounts of cash doing nothing for years. The second is diversification. Most serious financial advisors suggest a small allocation to gold between 5 and 10% of a portfolio as insurance against tail risks in the financial system. The third is awareness. Pay attention to what central banks are doing. They have better information than almost any other institution on earth. When they behave in unusual ways, that behavior is worth understanding. 5,000 years of human history chose gold as money for reasons that made rational sense. The scarcity, the durability, the independence from any single government's promise. Those properties still persist. Make sure you subscribe right now, because next week I am going to take everything we have covered in these past several videos and look at one of the biggest financial questions happening in the world right now.